Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. The US President Donald Trump, in his address to the nation last Thursday, declared that war on Iran was nearing end. He stated, "Tonight, I am pleased to say that the core strategic objectives are nearing completion." He added, "We are going to finish the job and we are going to finish it very fast." Yet in the same breath, Mr. Trump warned Iran of further devastating strikes in the coming weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trump in his speech sought to frame the US strikes, the US operations on Iran as successful. He has repeatedly emphasized that as a result of these strikes, Iran's military and intelligence infrastructure has been completely destroyed, and that Iranian political and military leadership has been eliminated. Yet, interestingly, Mr. Trump has recently gone back to the Congress asking for US dollars 200 billion in emergency funding for the ongoing operations. Still more interestingly, US has decided to deploy USS George H. Bush in the region. Now, this is in addition to USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already in the Arabian Sea, and USS Gerald Ford, which is temporarily in Croatia undergoing repairs and is expected to be redeployed in the region. Now, all this is indicative of the fact that either the US is planning larger, grander operation in Iran, which could involve boots on ground, or it has a feeling that the resistance being offered by Iran is too much for the existing troops. Ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of all this chaos, a diplomatic initiative involving Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia took shape in Riyadh. This quadrilateral group held its second meeting in Islamabad and called for immediate ceasefire and restraint by the warring sides. After the meeting, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, he rushed to China to invite China into the fold. In his meeting with his Chinese counterpart, they agreed to a 5-point push for de-escalation, cessation of hostilities, and a commitment to work within the UN. Pakistan, because of its good relations with the neighboring Iran, with the GCC countries, with the US, has emerged as a central figure and an important mediator in this crisis. And its role has been acknowledged and appreciated by the international community, particularly the EU. Yet, ladies and gentlemen, the signs of a breakthrough are feeble. However, Pakistan may have been able to accomplish a cautious alignment or cautious agreement among the GCC states to prevent the conflict from spiraling further. Mr. Trump, to the delight of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, has announced death and destruction on Iran, and has vowed to bomb the country to Stone Age. On the other hand, tensions in the Strait are continuously high, and Strait of Hormuz is continuously high, and the shipping traffic has drastically cut down. And the GCC states, the tension, and the GCC countries are under immense strain, immense tension, and that they have to decide to retaliate or to restrain. Now, this is the question which I will pose to my panelists. I have with me Ambassador Ayaz Muhammad Khan and Ambassador Amjad Sher. Welcome, gentlemen. Ayaz, let me come to you first. Now, in the middle of all this chaos, Pakistan has stepped forward as a mediator, offering to bridge a dialogue that neither Washington nor Tehran really want or are ready to accept. And of course, Netanyahu is too happy. So Pakistan as a mediator and important stakeholder, what are your views on that?
Well, Imran, it's a good initiative as far as Pakistan is concerned. Excuse me. But as you mentioned that both the parties are not really willing to sit on the table. Therefore, it seems right now, it seems that this is an exercise in futility right now. Pakistan has certainly come into the limelight because of this initiative. Pakistan has been in the spotlight as far as the four countries meeting in Islamabad is concerned. It is also being seen that Beijing is supporting Pakistan's initiative. But we have to see whether is it going to really materialize? Does Pakistan have any leverage on both the parties? Will Mr. Trump listen to what Pakistan or let's say Beijing have to say to come to the negotiations table? Because what we are seeing right now are constantly belligerent statements are coming out from the White House. And Mr. Trump is vacillating between ending the hostilities by claiming that he has achieved his initiatives, but at the same time, he's under pressure from the Israeli leadership that the major part of or the real purpose of this war was taking custody of the 440 kilogram of highly enriched uranium. Therefore, unless this uranium issue has been solved in one way or the other, whether Mr. Trump really gives a green signal for putting the boots on the ground in Iran, or he has to call off the ongoing strikes against Iran. One has to see because everything is...
Did we have a plan? I mean, Pakistan, of course, as you said, its role has been acknowledged and appreciated.
Yep.
But did we have a plan for mediation when we entered this process?
I don't think we have any plans because...
So we just jumped into it.
We just jumped into it, because Mr. Trump perhaps gave a signal to our leadership, both military and political, that if at all negotiations have to take place, then perhaps the possible venue could be Islamabad, and Pakistan could play a role in hosting these talks as and when they happen.
What sort of a role do you think Pakistan could have played?
As Oman was oscillating,
Oman was just shuttling.
Well, yeah, so, of course. So, as
it was facilitating.
As I said, we do not have any leverage whatsoever, and I think that this war, if it can be concluded, it can be concluded by only one person, and that is Mr. Trump. And so far, Mr. Trump does not seem to be inclined to call it off.
Okay, staying on the same thing, Amjad, my question to you is, what do you think this quadrilateral meeting, which was held in Islamabad, in which Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan were there, what did this hurdle seek to achieve?
Well, in the first place, thank you, Ambassador Imran. As Ambassador Ayaz said about this meeting which was held here, both the leadership from the United States of America, they approached our leadership, both military and political. And also then the Prime Minister of Pakistan talked to the President of Iran. And that was just simply to facilitate the talks. And in the first place, 4 major Islamic countries were invited to Islamabad to come to let us sit together and work out the plan for cessation of hostility or how to stop this war. So Pakistan Pakistan made an offer to facilitate the talks. Pakistan was not asked to mediate the talks or the conflict between the two countries. This is my
So what did this hurdle which we this meeting of the 4, what did it seek to achieve?
These 4 Islamic countries, which are basically the major countries in Islamic world like Turkey has a large army and also a large country. Egypt is equally, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, obviously the Muslim Ummah. And you would also know that Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, has the headquarters of the OIC, and Egypt has the headquarters of the Arab League. So they were also representing these two countries, both the Islamic Ummah and the Arab League. So these two countries were invited here to work out a plan. There was, in fact, no giant communique was issued after the talks, and obviously our foreign minister, deputy prime minister, was in the talks, and soon after the talks, which lasted maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, and after that there were courtesy calls on the prime minister and all the leaders. Then those foreign ministers left the country. So it means there was no consensus on the modalities of the kind of mediations or how to go about the ending the talks.
So it's interesting what you're saying, that apparently there was no consensus reached between these four countries.
And no statement came out.
No statement was
out
issued.
After
they only
those talks,
asked the two sides, the warring sides, to exercise restraint.
And since Pakistan has also great stakes in this war, we have a long border with Iran, and also we have political, economic, bilateral, commercial relations with the GCC countries. So Pakistan was quite worried, and knowing the positions of China, that China has also got good relation with Iran, 80% of
we'll come to China. We'll come to China in a minute. So you have raised a very interesting point, Samjit. Yes, Pakistan is an important stakeholder, and if situation worsens and if there is an escalation, we would be the first country to be impacted by that escalation, and we may even be put in a position where we may have to choose sides. As immediately after the meeting, in which Amjad believed that there was no consensus reached, the foreign minister Dar traveled to Beijing. The visit with his Chinese foreign minister, with his Chinese counterpart, produced a 5-point plan for de-escalation, support for ceasefire, and commitment to coordinate effort at the UN. What role exactly did we think China would play?
China is playing very safe. China is playing a safe hand right now. We know Chinese policy that they do not want to get directly involved into any conflict that is happening, because their main focus is their own economic development. Because China has come to the fore, or is taking a role in this whole situation, is because its economy is suffering because of this conflict. The oil that it was importing from Iran is certainly not reaching it, and also its exports to the Gulf countries and other parts of the world are also being hindered because of the problem, in shipping lanes, etc. Therefore, it has a stake. But if you look at the 5-point plan, they are quite broad in scope. There are no specifics. They have not really taken the names of the warring parties. They have not urged by taking names, as to which country, should stop hostilities, etc. So it's a kind of a very, very broad brush that they have painted with.
But in bilateral statements, or in the statements of the Chinese Foreign Office, they have condemned U.S. strikes on Iran.
But certainly not on this particular occasion, when Mr. Dar traveled to Beijing and they came up with a 5-point plan. It seems that China wants to remain in the back seat while waiting for an opportunity that, if at all it is called upon, to take some kind of role in mediating between the warring parties, then perhaps China would be glad to assume the role. There's a saying
that if your enemy makes a mistake,
let it continue
making
absolutely,
and
yes.
weaken itself.
The Time magazine said
coming
that.
to you, mate. Just a second. No, I know you would like to, but let me also add to another question to it. Now, there's a talk that China could emerge as a guarantor. We heard this in the papers. We heard this among the analysts also. Your views on that?
Well, in the first place, as Ambassador Ayaz said about the role of China, in fact, at this point of time, China is maintaining a strategic neutrality.
Strategic neutrality.
Yeah, but it is not unaware about all the developments taking place, because ultimately it is going to affect China, and very deeply. So China, at the same time, this is what reported, that China is also providing strategic support to Iran. Because
what do you mean by strategic support?
Some kind of information.
In intelligence sharing,
exactly.
It is there.
This is strategic support. What kind that is. Now coming to your point, that what was the point?
The point was that can China? There's a talk that China can play as a role of a guarantor.
Well, this is in fact this kind of statement is emanating from the Iranian side. And reported in the media, the Iranian wants to come to the negotiation table only with this condition, that when they are going to agree on some kind of points, there has to be an international guarantor.
So you mean to say Iran is asking China to emerge as a guarantor?
Not. Iran is asking the globe at the world level that if we have to make some kind of agreement,
there should be a guarantor.
There should be a guarantor. And at this time, China is the country which has deep stakes in this whole, conflict. So China, my point analysis that Iran is indirectly asking China to be a guarantor.
What do you mean by indirectly asking?
Means not directly to come and because there has not been any contact between reported between China and Iran about this talk. But one thing, one second, because China, why Iran is asking for guarantors, in the sense that the two
let us understand
last year also
yes the US Mr. Trump's attitude.
Yes.
China as a guarantor, do you see China playing a role as a guarantor?
I don't think so. China will come
it has no leverage
to that level, exactly,
particularly on the US.
But this is what the demand of Iran
no,
is.
Iran does want that there should be a guarantor if they have to make an agreement to something with the US.
China has strategic agreement, relationship with Iran, certainly, and Iran will be happy if China does play a role of a mediator, but China is an adversary of United States. And by extension,
of course, they're not adversaries. Mr. Trump is traveling to Beijing on 14th of next month.
All strategic calculations or pronouncements that have been made by the new administration, they have made no bones about it that it is China which is the adversary number one for them. And the trade war, the tariff war that took place previously is also previously. It also manifests, that they're the kind of thinking in U.S. administration in Washington D.C. and also that China would like to maintain a low profile right now because Mr. Trump is scheduled to visit Beijing next month,
and they don't want to spoil.
And they do not want to spoil. And China would like to see that before Mr. Trump arrives in Beijing, the war should have ended by then. Otherwise, it is going to be a very complex visit for both Mr. Trump and China.
Okay, gentlemen, and both of you, we have discussed Pakistan's mediatory efforts. We have discussed the role which China can play, should play, or it's expected to play. Now, what escalation scenario do you see after Donald Trump's address to the nation, in which he said there will be intense bombing in next 2 to 3 weeks? Amjad?
Well, in the first place, President Trump's speech to the nation was a disappointment. and full of confusion. On the one hand, he is saying that the United States of America has achieved its objectives, targets, and on the other hand, he said the next 2 to 3 weeks he is going to launch a destructive strikes again on Iran. So there was nothing substantial coming out of his speech, and in fact, this is what the Americans have made their mind, and the United States of America is doing all this at the behest of Israel because Israel does not and cannot afford to have any opposition in the region, and Iran is the only country.
Okay, so what scenario do you envisage?
Scenario is that there is going to be a total destruction, and it is going to be more, lethal for Israel, because Israel is a small country and Israel is very much in the range of the Iranian strikes.
Missiles.
Yeah, and again also for the GCC countries, mostly for UAE, for Bahrain, for Kuwait, maybe not that much to the Saudi Arabia and Qatar, because Qatar has now withdrawn from all this.
Yes. What scenario do you envisage?
Well, I'm very skeptical about the situation that is likely to develop. The strategic calculus of both United States and Israel is to go up the escalatory ladder right now. And what I see is that after Houthis have jumped into the fray, the conflict is certainly going to spread horizontally as well as vertically, certainly. So it's a very ominous development right now. And Mr. Trump, in his 19 minutes address, he again, he said the same things that he has been saying off and on. There was nothing new. He did not give any end state. He did not tell his nation as to what are the objectives that he was pursuing right now.
So once Houthis, you made a very interesting point about the Houthis. Yeah. So how do you see Houthis entering they've already fired 3 missiles to Israel. So once they formally enter the conflict, how would it influence or affect the situation, the ground situation?
Well, it's very difficult to predict right now, but if Houthis do go for choking Bab el-Mandab, which is the only waterway right now, which is only the trade line that is open, for import and export, both from
and through which
from
even
east to west.
30% of Israeli trade also
certainly
passes.
So the situation will become more complex. Then particularly it will be alarming for Saudi Arabia, which is exporting its oil, whatever it can, through Bab el-Mandab. So if that point is also choked, and Saudi Arabia is constrained to really rethink its options, then it might jump into the fray, and that will be again very portentous for Pakistan, because if Saudi Arabia does decide, and my hunch is, I hope that I'm not correct, my hunch is that sooner or later Saudi Arabia will jump into the fray and will ask Pakistan to fulfill its obligations.
But as you see, once Houthis enter the conflict, the Saudi energy infrastructure, the Kuwaiti, to an extent, the UAE infrastructure, they will be under direct range of the Houthis.
Absolutely.
And one thing more is that like Iran, which is fighting on multiple fronts, like the GCC countries and also Israel is also fighting on 3 fronts. And we should not forget Iraq. Iraq might also come into to this conflict. So Israel is fighting with the Houthis, Israel is fighting with Lebanon and Hezbollah, Israel is fighting with Iran, and also maybe Iraq also comes in because it's a large community of Shia.
Both of you gentlemen were talking about Israel. The Israel army chief, the IDF army chief, he stated that there's a risk of implosion within the Israel army. There's a shortage of manpower, they want conscription, and there is also a shortage of interceptors. So Israel is also in a quite vulnerable position as things stand. So Mr. Trump would want to find a way out. Oh, sorry, Bibi Netanyahu would want to find a way out. Don't you
Find a
think?
way out. Yes, their inventory is certainly depleting fast, side by side Iran's, and one has to see as to in the coming weeks or so, if the conflict continues, which party blinks first. Whether it's going to be Israelis or it's going to be Iranians, But what it looks right now, Imran, I would like to say that there are 2-3 things which are crystal clear right now. One is that in the Middle East, the existing security structure is certainly dismantling. And whatever the outcome of the present conflict, the shape of the Middle East will be different from now. There will be new power centers, there will be new blocs coming up, new alliances taking place. And my hunch is that Israel will formally occupy both Syria and northern Iraq.
Well,
right
these
now,
are predictions. Israel occupy Syria, occupy Lebanon,
and Palestine, West Bank and Gaza.
West Bank and Gaza. Yes, of course, there are possibilities, but don't you think Israel itself will emerge as a much weaker state because of all this thing? And Americans, US position and influence would also be considerably challenged in the region. Now, yes, you want to say something?
United States of America they failed to provide security to the Gulf countries.
It did.
One thing. Secondly, now the current conflict, the war, is being given a religious color. Last in
Mr.
Easter,
Pete Hegseth said, yeah, of course, this is a war.
And also the United States of America sacked two important positions. One was the Army's Chief of Army Staff, and the other was the Attorney General.
Attorney General was not because of it was not war related.
Because of the court conflict, that Mr. Trump has with
them. But these are also internal differences coming out because as a result of this war. And one thing more is that if you are giving a religious color to the conflict, then obviously this is going to be more lethal. And Iran is a large country. It has got more strategic depth than Israel.
Okay, absolutely correct.
Imran, I would like to highlight one point.
Please.
Look, this 2026 year is very crucial for both Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Trump.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Both would like to emerge as some kind of triumphant, from this conflict. If Mr. Netanyahu fails to achieve his objective, and that is i.e. The custody of 440 kilogram of HEU, then certainly he will present this trophy to his constituency and would like to be re-elected, as a strong man. On the contrary, if Mr. Trump, calls the strikes off and there are no tangible objectives, achieved by him, then certainly November will be disastrous for Mr. Trump.
Okay, gentlemen. At what point do you think Saudi Arabia will jump into the war?
If I may say in one sentence, if any oil facility is attacked by Iran, in Saudi Arabia.
So far they have attacked, the oil facility in Yambo.
It was a minor attack. It was not a serious attack.
It was not
Nevertheless, it was attacked.
But if something serious does happen to energy infrastructure in Saudi Arabia, that will be a time when Saudi Arabia will certainly declare war.
They are already facing, difficulties in exporting oil through the Hormuz, a Strait of Hormuz. So
that
they are also under
very
financial
point
pressure,
which Amjad has raised, that Iran has monetized the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh yeah,
it has full control over it. And if if this thing continues, it would this influence of Iran in Strait of Hormuz continues. Of course, Saudi Arabia or UAE would not like this fact. That is, Iran can punish or reward whichever country it wants.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is why, and both UAE and Saudi Arabia would want this stranglehold to be loosened.
Certainly. Look, Iran has levied toll. Or is now ready to levy toll on all the passing ships,
and
meaning thereby that it is it is conveying to the outside world that it is the sole power, sole country in the region which has the right over Strait of Hormuz. Whereas some sane people are saying that some kind of Montreux arrangement should be made where Turkey was given the right of sovereignty over strait in the Black Sea and Marmara. The strait there. So a similar kind of arrangement can be made where Iran can have a joint sovereignty side by side with Oman, and they can certainly allow the trade to continue as usual as it is happening in Turkey.
Okay, Amjad, after reports of Pakistan positioning itself as the lead mediator to broker an end to the conflict in the Gulf, the Indian opposition questioned Mr. Modi's claim of being a global leader. Mr. Rahul Gandhi called Mr. Modi's foreign policy a joke. He said, our foreign policy is Prime Minister Modi's personal foreign policy. You can see the results of this. It is a universal joke. Has Mr. Modi's policy on Iran been a strategic restraint or strategic confusion?
I think it is a strategic confusion in the sense that India is now caught up in a catch-22 situation. It has been importing oil from Iran at a discounted price, also from Russia at a discounted price, but equally it has good relations, bilateral political relation, commercial relation with Israel. So now, and this is what has happened during the Modi's government. Before, India had not that much declared policy with Israel. But now before the start of the war, Modi, just 2 days before or 1 day before,
he was in Tel Aviv.
He was in Israel. Mm-hmm. So this is what now for confusion for Modi what to do.
Mm-hmm. So
I agree with him that India had eschewed its strategic neutrality, in the conflicts that have happened in the past. But by Mr. Modi visiting Israel, just before the hostilities began, India has put itself, as a party to the aggressor right now, and the questions are being raised by human rights entities inside India that why Mr. Modi, India has had a policy where it was outrightly supporting establishment of Palestinian state side by side Israel, and that moral plank of their policy has now been removed by Mr. Modi by aligning himself with an aggressor, with Israel. So India is in no position, moral position to be a mediator. By any standards.
So has this deepening ties with Israel come at the cost of India's relations with Iran?
Yeah, certainly, of course.
India has long
I think that Iranian leadership should, because they are very shrewd, they have so far been playing their hands quite carefully, very nicely, I would say, in this conflict. So they are wise enough to really reassess whether their relationship with India was worth it, because India has clearly now sided with the aggressing party, and they will have to take stock of the situation right now and reevaluate and rethink about their relationship with India. Okay,
Amjad, you want to say something?
According to my understanding, so far India has not condemned the attacks on Iran.
Your understanding is absolutely correct.
Yes, so that is again that has now antagonized the Iranian opinion against India.
Okay, Amjad, why does India appear so uneasy with Pakistan's growing diplomatic visibility in the crisis?
As Ambassador Ayaz said, that India has now joined with the aggressor. So, and in this point, Pakistan has not joined any aggressor. Pakistan has political, commercial, good relation with the GCC countries and also with Iran. So Iran and Pakistan was seen a country which has got good relations with the two sides, and in this point, and it has not got any diplomatic relation with Israel. So there was more confidence and trust in the government and Pakistan as a country than India.
Pakistan qualifies as a mediator, not only as the next door neighbor of Iran, but also Pakistan is the only Muslim country in the region.
Would it be correct to say that India had aspired to be a net security provider for the region? Pakistan has emerged as the net stability provider for the region.
Certainly it is. And Pakistan is the only country which does not have any American bases on its territory. So it qualifies Pakistan, as a Muslim country, as a neighboring country.
Quick take from both of you gentlemen. Can India still claim leadership of Global South when it appears hesitant in the moment of crisis?
In the moment of crisis, India has not demonstrated, any kind of, I can say that no sincerity, no, genuine interest in the resolution of crises and conflicts. So India is now can be seen as a country of mob and not of people.
Yes.
I think given the pace of economic development by China perhaps qualifies more, although I would say that both India and China have serious...
Morally, do you think after this, does India have a claim to be the leader of Global South?
Certainly not, because if they have sided with the aggressor, if they have contributed to the annihilation, destruction of a country with which they had, very deep economic and strategic relationship, then it certainly puts questions on the credibility of India as not only as a guarantee provider, but also as a leader of Global South, I think.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was an interesting discussion, and there were a lot of other aspects which we could have covered, but of course there's a time limit. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trump's address to the American people was less of a policy statement and more of a carefully and deliberately calibrated show of force. It was high on theatrics, but it lacked any clear-cut policy line and the course of action. It was basically an exercise to validate his war of choice by emphasizing on threats and urgency which Iran posed. And then he recentered his narrative on his own leadership by invoking tactical gains which the operation had achieved so far. However, ladies and gentlemen, the speech lacked clarity as far as end goals and exit strategy is concerned. Mr. Trump stated in his speech that Operation Blind Fury, I would say, Operation Blind Fury had achieved its objectives and that it was nearing conclusion and completion. Yet we see the conflict expanding, ominously expanding rather, in intensity, in scope and in consequences. Iran is fighting back. It is hitting hard and it is reshaping the battlefield. It is tightening its stranglehold around the Strait of Hormuz, which is an important passageway for global energy. And it is this global energy which Iran is weaponizing. The real question now, ladies and gentlemen, is not who is winning in the battlefield. The real question is who controls the end game. Donald Trump, in his speech, has raised the stakes, and by raising the stakes, he has reduced his space for maneuverability. He has reduced the chances of diplomatic settlement or diplomatic exit. Now, if Iran does not concede, escalation becomes not just an option, but a credibility test for Mr. Trump. So actually Donald Trump has locked himself in a cycle whereby in which if he does not go for escalation, he would look weak, and if he goes for escalation, it would create wider conflagration in the region. Equally striking is the fact that Donald Trump in his speech had made no mention, or was it a deliberate omission, of diplomatic efforts being made by regional countries to bring about a peaceful settlement of the conflict. This speaks of maximalist position of Mr. Trump, that he wants to approach peace through power, through use of powers and strength, and hence his preference for pressure. He spoke in the language of inevitability. Iran has to surrender or should be ready to face consequences. Diplomatically, Donald Trump's speech reflected United States' increasing isolation in Iran war. After all, he did not take his allies into confidence, and now he blames his allies for his problems in Iran. This was, in fact, NATO's way of rejecting President Trump's unilateralism, in which the allies are uncertain whether they are partners in strategy or they are just spectators to a US decision. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trump's speech has only added uncertainty to the prevailing tensions, and this does not bode well for the region. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge. Please subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back.